Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. So this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated Friday, April 7th, 2023. And on the front page, we have a beautiful picture of an area of our community at the Neepawa Water Tower. The site captured here is quite unique, according to photographer Jody Baker. The reason? The lettering on Neepawa's water tower is facing east and west. She never imagined she would have the opportunity to photograph the northern lights behind it to the east. This is just one of many beautiful pictures that Jody shares with our community. All right, a fond farewell. Minnedosa says goodbye to District Arena by Owen Devereaux. Over the years, watching a hockey game inside the Minnedosa District Arena just always had a different feel to it. Whether it was the high wooden ceiling with the beams showing through, the patches of frost that would just randomly fall off the roof onto the ice, or sometimes onto the fans sitting in the bleachers, or simply just that old-time hockey energy that radiated from the rafters. After one last hockey game on Saturday, April the 1st, the District Arena is permanently melting its ice as the community's new recreation complex is still slated to open before next winter. This is a bittersweet moment for many residents whose children, and in some cases grandchildren, great-grandchildren, grew up in and around the rink. According to Minnedosa Valley Views, Minnedosa's 100th anniversary, which was published in 1982 for the Minnedosa Centennial Committee, a major project in 1947 was building a new skating and hockey rink. According to the book, some $21,000, which in modern currency would be $334,484, so $21,000 had to be raised for this project prior to and immediately after the war. A little later, a further $13,000 for the construction of the arena was raised through a referendum. And in today's dollars, $13,000 would be $207,061. Over the funding to cover costs was required. No, once the funding was acquired, a recycled military building / airplane hangar was moved to Minnedosa from CFB Portage. Over the course of 5 months that year, it was then converted into the Minnedosa District Arena. Originally a natural ice surface and later converted to artificial ice, this arena has served faithfully as home to local skaters over the course of the last 76 years, despite a growing need for repairs. With the passage of time, however, the need for a brand new regional recreation facility grew stronger, and in 2021 the decision was made to move forward with the design and construction of a new arena. The facility is located on the agricultural grounds on the northwest end of town. But while the new and improved arena will soon be the heart of winter activity for many Minnedosa residents, the memories of the old district arena will not be forgotten. So we have some pictures here and on another page, which I will show you. the interior and exterior of the Minnedosa District Arena as it appeared just a few hours before its final hockey game on Saturday, April 1st. See all the beams, the open beams? It's kind of a cool look to it. And here, like many old ice-style ice rinks, the District Arena had a few notable and unique quirks, one of which was the snow and frost that was at certain times during the winter and spring would fall from the ceiling onto the ice and is pictured even the first few rows of seating. And on this page we have a few more. The Minnedosa District Arena was near capacity for the final hockey game in the building on Saturday, April 1st, as the Minnedosa Bombers played the Miniota-Elkhorn Seahawks in the Tiger Hills Hockey League Championship Final. Looks like it was a full house that night. Come back to that after. Oh my goodness. Oh, and here's another picture. This time it's Neepawa the way it was. Pictured here is an old photo of a portion of Neepawa as it appeared in the late 1950s. On the left is the Neepawa Collegiate. At the top right is the hospital. Right below the hospital is the Osborne House for seniors, which was once Neepawa's hospital before the new one was built. Then directly below that, the building encircled by the trees, this one here, was the nurses' residence. Both the Osborne home and the nurses' residence are structures that can no longer be found in the community. Boy, has that changed a lot. This is all houses now over here, and there's only like 2. Now, this is Helen Drysdale's section out of Helen's Kitchen. This week, appropriately for Easter weekend, it is hot cross buns. Hot cross buns, 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot cross buns. If you have no daughters, give them to your sons. 1 a penny, 2 a penny, hot cross buns. It is said this rhyming cry was used by the English street vendors selling their sweet spiced buns at Easter time. Hot cross buns have been associated with Easter since the 14th century. Anglican monk Brother Thomas Rodcliffe baked the buns at St. Albans Abbey, marked them with a cross, and distributed the buns to the poor on Good Friday. They soon gained popularity around England, and they became a symbol of the Easter celebrations. For Christians, the cross on the bun represents the crucifixion of Jesus. The spices inside the buns symbolize the spices put on the body of Jesus after he died, and the lemon peel to reflect the bitterness of his time on the cross. By the late 1500s, many English people believed the buns had magic or healing powers. Queen Elizabeth I passed a law restricting their sale to only Good Friday, Christmas, and funerals, as they were simply too special to be eaten any other day. At that time, most of the baking was done by bakers and sold. To get around this, the people baked the buns in their own homes. If they were caught baking them outside that allotted time, they were forced to give all the buns to the poor. Eventually, the law was withdrawn due to the difficulty to enforce. It is believed that a hot cross bun shared with a friend will assure friendship for the coming year. So with that in mind, bake up some of these special buns and share them with your family and friends. Have a blessed Easter weekend. And then she has the recipe for hot cross buns. Haven't had those for a while. All right, this one's called Reading Your Partner by Delcy Martin, Your Listening Ear. When you've spent a considerable amount of time with your intimate partner, you get to know how to read them. You can tell when they are stressed, relaxed, or genuinely excited about something. Some of us are blessed with the gift of being empaths, where we are naturally in tune with people's energies and can pick up the energy of our loved one just by entering the room. For lots of people, though, understanding how their partner is really feeling is like a giant puzzle. This is especially problematic when you have a partner who doesn't share a lot. Today, I want to go through some basic tells that you can look for in your partner to give you an indication of how they are feeling, or at least a place to start for you to ask more. Please know that these tells are not the same for everyone and are highly cultural. So take what serves you from this article with the knowledge that this article is written from a Western lens. Does your partner's body language match the words that they are saying? As an example, someone might be saying, "Everything's fine," while their body language is closed. What this means is that their eyes are lowered, arms are crossed, their head is down, and making themselves seem small. Creating this smallness with your body is an unconscious defense mechanism your body uses to appear less threatening and noticeable. If your partner is doing this, they might be fearful of you or the consequences of speaking, or maybe sending a strong message that they need to be alone. You could point out what you are noticing to encourage them to talk further, like you are saying you're fine, but your eyes are down, your arms are crossed, and you don't seem okay. People also use body language to make themselves feel more powerful in conversations. Some individuals will puff up their chests, stand taller, make more intense eye contact, make wide body movements, and a loud voice. This gives them a larger presence in the conversation space, both physically and emotionally. This is a strategy often used by abusers in domestically violent relationships. Other nonverbals that can indicate certain emotions in your partner are: number 1, for anxiety, hand wringing, toe tapping, fidgeting, pacing, rapid breathing, eyes moving rapidly around, or a flushed face. Number 2, for anger or frustration, sighing, pacing as a regulation strategy for anger, red face, sweating, clenched fists, chest puffs outward. Number 3, for sadness, monotone voice, slowed speech, red eyes or a slumped posture, or slow walking pace. These are undoubtedly some things that can affect your ability to read your partner, like those with insecure attachment styles or struggling with anxiety or depression will read neutral body language as being negative. No matter how well you try and figure out your partner, the best way to know them is to ask them. Don't be afraid to ask your partner clarifying questions about how they are feeling. A fun habit to build to emotionally connect with your partner is saying, "How are you today?" And when your partner gives the inevitable, unhelpful answer of "fine," see if you can get them to tell you more by projecting interest in their internal self and asking clarifying questions. Okay, for the Rural Outlook section. Area kids enjoy and participate in Royal Manitoba Winter Fair. The Royal Manitoba Winter Fair was an enjoyable time for Carberry 4-H members to take in the sights, but also to participate in the event themselves. Pictured above, all of the kids here attended the fair and showed cattle from the Carberry 4-H Beef Club. Here we have Elena Bagansky winning the Don Mitchell Memorial Showmanship Award for Champion Pee-wee Showmanship, sponsored by Klondike Farms. And here we have Lucas Bagansky winning the Don Mitchell Memorial Showmanship Award for Reserve Champion Junior Showmanship, sponsored by Klondike Farms. Erickson 4-H Beef Club Report by Chet Woshishin. On February 12th, the club held their annual Communications Day at the Erickson Legion. All the members did an amazing job delivering their speeches. Congratulations to all. And here are the category winners. Meredith Irvin for Senior Public Speaking, Easton Patterson for Intermediate Public Speaking, and Caden Kostenchuk for Clover Bud Public Speaking. Thank you again to Steve Brigden and Leslie Desjardins for judging this year. Thank you to the Erickson Legion for hosting and providing a hot dog lunch, as well as providing prizes to the category winners and tokens to all the presenters. The much anticipated pie draw was done after the speeches were completed, and the lucky winners were Jackie Girard and Dennis McNabb. Thank you to all who supported this fundraiser again this year, and to Easton Patterson for making the delicious pies. March was a busy month for the club. On the 13th, we had our monthly meeting, as well as took some extra time for a project book workshop and some fun and games. We did puzzles, races, balloon popping, and had some treats. On the 17th, the club had the pleasure of cooking and serving a chili supper for the Erickson Legion St. Patrick's Day meat draw in support of our club. There was a great turnout, and we hope everyone enjoyed the chili supper. Thank you to the Erickson Legion again for the continued support of our club. March 18th, we did away day. Everyone's steers are coming along nicely. The club has a field day scheduled along with the next meeting on April the 15th. Now here we have a couple of pictures, if it would show. This item, originally featured in last week's edition of the paper, had been brought in by Leona Kuchar via an Our Canada magazine. Neither the person who has submitted it to the magazine nor their friends or Kuchar had any answers for what the item was. However, it appears one has been swiftly found. The popular guess appears to be a holder for a grain bag. Banner and Press reader Marshall Thompson provided this detailed reply. There were 224 Canadian patents issued on December the 7th, 1920. No drawings or descriptions are available online for this time period, so a few guesses from the brief patent names are 206311 bag holder, 206368 strap tightener, and 206391 support or bracket for decorative objects. The Banner and Press extends its thanks to all those who aided in identifying the item. Now, Carberry sets a new goal: discover, grow, belong. The town of Carberry was promoting the town and tourism at their booth at the Brandon Winter Fair. Carberry has rebranded under the Discover, Grow, Belong slogan, and a new Chamber of Commerce business directory has been printed. Economic Development Officer Cara Burney helped the staff with a booth along with help from various town reps. And here we have a couple more pictures from the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair. Here's Madison Robertson of Neepawa, and her cattle had quite the time at the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair, securing some champion titled accolades. Here she is posing with champion Charlet X-Steer MRR Habanero at the Brandon Winter Fair. Habanero weighed 1,165 pounds on show day. There were 16 entries in the show. Robertson also won the Don Mitchell Memorial Showmanship Competition with the same steer. Behind the steer are judges Cody Carson and Bobby Joe Foster of Rossburn, who chose Robertson as the winner from among 81 entries. Wow. And here she is again, Madison Robertson, in the ring during the All Breeds Heifer Show with her grand champion Charlet female, JMB Kirsten, 212K. Wow. Those are big animals. Whew. Now, the sports pages by Owen Devereaux. Brand new league, same old results. The same winning tradition the Miniota/Elkhorn Seahawks had established for themselves in the North Central Hockey League has followed them over to the Tiger Hills. The first year franchise capped off a near perfect season on Saturday, April 1st, defeating the Minnedosa Bombers 6-3 to claim the league title. With the win, the Seahawks closed out the best-of-5 championship series 3-1. This season was the first for Miniota-Elkhorn in the Tiger Hills Hockey League after transferring over from North Central in 2022. The Seahawks had won the NCHL crown in the league's final season before it announced plans to take a one-year hiatus to reorganize. In the final game of the series, Curtis Gardham and Taylor Sandheim each scored twice and added an assist for the Seahawks. Former Portage Terrier Brad Bowles, as well as Dustin Fisher, who played with the Carberry Plainsmen from 2006 to 2017, scored the other goals for the visitors. As for Minnedosa, Wes Lewis, Bryson Werbicki Mallet, and Shane Jury scored for the Bombers. Shots on goal for the game were 44-20 in favor of Miniota-Elkhorn. After the game and the trophy presentation by League President Rodney White, the banner and press spoke with Devon Stonehouse, team captain for Miniota-Elkhorn Seahawks. Stonehouse said, "It's been an incredible year for the team in the Tiger Hills. We knew it was going to be a different level of competition and we wanted that challenge. We're very proud that we are a local team. We only have one import player and he's married to a local gal. We're a hometown team and really proud to represent the community. Everyone is playing for the hometown," said Stonehouse. "Have to give it up for Minnedosa. We knew they were going to be hard to play against and they pushed us, especially in their home rink. We knew we would have to battle, and it was a good battle." And remember also the last game ever played in Minnedosa Arena. Now, still with hockey, another college commitment for Neepawa Titans alum, submitted by Neepawa Titans press release. The Neepawa Titans are proud to announce that defenseman John Blake has committed to the Concordia Cobbers for the 2023-24 season. The Cobbers are a Division III NCAA program in Moorhead, Minnesota, that competes in the Minnesota Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, or the MIAC. Titans head coach and general manager Ken Pearson had this to say about John Blake. "We are very happy that John has chosen to continue his playing career and begin his studies at Concordia. John was a great teammate and was a pleasure to have on our team the past 2 years. We as an organization wish him continued success at Concordia." John Blake had this to say about his time in Neepawa. "I am very grateful for my time in Neepawa. I was given a great opportunity to improve both on and off the ice and was surrounded by great people. I am also thankful for my coaches, teammates, billets, and the many other people I was fortunate enough to meet in my time in Neepawa. I am very excited to play at Concordia and continue playing and begin my college education." Blake joined the Titans in 2021-22 and played in 60 regular season games, accumulating 4 goals, 13 assists, along with 49 penalty minutes. The entire Neepawa Titans organization would like to congratulate John and wish him all the best in Moorhead. And along with that, they have some player signings. A pair of prospects have signed letters of intent with the Neepawa Titans for the 23-24 MJHL season. First, 17-year-old right winger Logan Payat has committed to the upcoming MJHL season. Payat is from St. Albert, Alberta, and had 16 goals and 28 assists in 34 games this past season for the Cochrane AAA Generals. In the press release confirming the signing, Neepawa Titans head coach and general manager Ken Pearson noted that Logan will bring a strong work ethic, hockey IQ, and finish around the net. Payat, on signing with the Titans, stated that I am really excited to play in Neepawa this coming season while learning and growing as a player. Fans can expect to see my love for the game. The other signing saw Kyle Weisgarber of the Yorkton Maulers under-18 AAA Hockey Club. Weisgarber is 18 years old and had 10 goals and 31 assists in 44 games this past season to lead the Maulers in scoring. Pearson said that he and the coaching staff believe Kyle will bring playmaking ability to the team. Weisgarber noted that he is excited to improve as a player and as a person in Neepawa this coming season. These signings follow upon the announcement last week Yorkton-based defenseman Jeffrey Stewart's commitment to the Titans for the 23-24 MJHL season. Great. Oh my goodness, we're almost done the paper already. Well, I'll go back to this and we will read Rita Friesen's article, Homebodies. This week it is called Google This. After watching the news and reading some newspapers, I decided I needed to rest my brain and entertain it for a while instead. I decided to Google people I know, and to be honest, it's much easier to research a male person than a female person, because I have no idea who my classmates married and what their current name may be. I started with my father. I have no idea who selects the candidates for the collection of memorable Manitobans, but my father made the grade, pun intended. Memorable Manitobans. Walter Abram, or Walt Taves, from 1923 to 2006. Farmer. Educator, born in Manitoba on February 23rd, 1923. Third child of Abram G. Taves and Agatha Bourne, 1898 to 1988. He farmed for 40 years near Graysville. On September 26, 1943, he married Rosabella, or Rose Groening, who from 1922 to 1996, and they had 4 daughters. He returned to the classroom as an adult, earning his teaching accreditation and teaching at McCreary Collegiate, 63 to 64, where he worked alongside his eldest daughter, also on the teaching staff. He went on to teach at Carmen School and Sanford School, and was principal of Wingham School, 1961 to 62. And Roland School, that's where I went to school, from 66 to 67. And Starbuck Collegiate, 68 to 72. He was also a Sunday school teacher, board member, and lay preacher at the Carmen Mennonite Church. He died at Carmen on September 10th, 2006, and was buried in the Graysville Mennonite Cemetery. So Rita goes on to say, accurate and concise. Selecting random individuals from my community, I researched Jack Murtagh. He was just a few years older than I and a contemporary of the Stowe brothers. Here is an excerpt from a newspaper article in 2013. Have you ever wondered how former politicians spend their time? The media often portrays retired politicians as simply living the good life on a gold-plated government pension. Some retired politicians, however, put their time and energy into serving the Lord. David Kilgour and Jack Murda have occupied seats at the cabinet table, but now once a week at noon you can find them waiting on tables, serving the homeless at the Union Mission. Murda says, "I have made this my prayer. Lord, help me to love you more because I love you more. I will love others more. I need to live out that prayer wherever I go." Murda served as the Progressive Conservative Member of Parliament for the Manitoba riding of Lisgar from 1970 to 1988. Murda was also involved in the parliamentary prayer breakfast. Then I looked up John R. Weens, a classmate from grades 2 through 12. John R. Weens is Dean Emeritus at the Faculty of Education, University of Manitoba, a lifelong educator. He has served as a teacher, counselor, work education coordinator, principal, school superintendent, and university professor. That is a very brief summation of his achievements. And there is Wayne James Watt, 2 years older than me, close friend, worked on math curriculum for the province. Vernon Bogulke, who went from high school to seminary, now a retired Lutheran minister. John Worms, an author. Doug Harrison, above average curler. We were a small school in a small community. There are so many more achievers. We did well. Now, Ken Waddell's right in the center. This week, his article is entitled "Those Problem People." First, a disclaimer. The views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the Banner and Press staff. Easter is a wonderful time of year. Spring is coming soon. Gardens will be planted, crops seeded, cattle will soon be out on the pasture. Summer awaits us all. Easter is when we are reminded that God made us all, the world and everything in it. Easter is when we are reminded that God sent Jesus as our Savior. The Christian Church teaches that all people have sinned. That's an old-fashioned word, isn't it? Sinned. It's true, everyone has sinned. Sinners don't go to heaven without being forgiven of their sin. And Jesus died on a cross, was placed in a tomb, and rose to life on the third day so that we might have that forgiveness. By Christ's sacrifice, we can be forgiven, and when life on earth is done, we can go to heaven. It's so simple that it can mystify a person. It mystifies me. I can't fully explain it, but I do believe in Jesus. Several times I have run across other people's experiences with Jesus. When my father-in-law died a number of years ago, his grandson, our son, officiated at the funeral. He stated Grandpa said he didn't have a problem with God, but he did have a problem with the church. The problem with the church may have gone back a long time, as Grandpa's mother told my wife that when she was a young woman during World War I in Europe, the local church was in charge of food rationing and distribution. For some reason, her family wasn't in favor of the local church and didn't get much food compared to others. We have our suspicions as to why that was, but we don't really know. To publicly say the reasons would be presuming, but we do have some theories that make sense. Grandpa's mother said they were forced to reap barley early when it was still green and try to make a poor kind of bread from it. She would get a slice of green barley bread and half a walnut per day as her ration. I know of a man in a community in Manitoba who, as a young boy, was accused by the church leaders of throwing stones through the church windows. He said he was no angel, but he didn't break windows. He was beaten. and found it hard to forgive the church leaders. These two stories, now only foggy memories being retold, show that while the message about Jesus is one thing, how Christians live out and practice their faith is quite another. A student of Christianity once told me that in spite of all the rules a group might try to enforce, the Christian faith stands on its own merit. That is true, or at least it should be true. I recently heard that some people believe that Jesus is okay, but his wife is a problem. Jesus didn't have a wife as such, but the whole Christian church is described as the bride of Christ. I can see where people might be okay with Jesus, but have a real problem with his wife. The church, or the bride of Christ, has done some wonderful things for sure, but the hurt and screw-ups brought on by Christians have caused a lot of deep-seated problems for sure. One last story or lesson. When we let the problems caused by people come between us and God, we can only be sure of one thing. We can't let the problem people, which happen to be us all at times, be closer to God than we are. Seeking God, accepting the sacrifice of Jesus, living for him, allows us to forgive the problem people and live in peace with God and others. It's not an easy road, but it's easier than fighting the problem people and being consumed by our experiences with them. It's best to forgive and move on. Nobody needs the extra burden. The next article is by Neil Stroshine, Faithfully Yours, and it's entitled No Room. I have always been puzzled by one part of the Palm Sunday narrative. After Jesus rode into the city of Jerusalem and was acclaimed as the one who has come in the name of the Lord, he went into the temple and was confronted by a scene that unleashed feelings of righteous indignation. The outer court of the temple had been turned into a mini shopping mall. On one side of the court were merchants selling the sacrificial animals, oil, and meal the people used for their sacrifices. On the other side were the money changers who exchanged Roman denarii for temple shekels, because all transactions conducted within the temple walls had to use temple currency. On any other day, these people wouldn't be there. But this was one of 3 annual Jewish festivals, and the rulers of the temple allowed them to set up shop in the outer court for the convenience of the worshippers, all for a percentage of the profits. That made Jesus angry enough, but what angered him more was that there was no room in the temple for those who needed its services most. On any other day, people who wanted to learn more about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who wanted to discover how the law of Moses applied to specific situations in their lives, could come to the temple and find what they were looking for. But on this day, there was no room for them. On any other day, people who wanted to spend some quiet moments in prayer and meditation could come to the temple and find a place to do that. But on this day, there was no room for them. On any other day, the blind, the lame, and others like them could come into this outer court of the temple, join in the songs of praise, and add their amens to the prayers that were offered. But on this day, there was no room for them. On any other day, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, could go into the temple and help the people he met there find the hope, help, and healing they desperately needed. But on this day, there was no room for the Son of God in his Father's house. So Jesus made room. He evicted the merchants and money changers from the temple property and welcomed those who needed his help. On this day, the outer court of the temple became the people's court, the place where anyone could come and meet God. The Jerusalem temple no longer exists. The Most High God no longer lives in a building of wood and stone made by human hands. Today, by his Spirit, he lives in the bodies of those who have turned from sin and put their faith in his Son, Jesus Christ our Lord. This weekend, we commemorate the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Is there room in our celebration for God, for those he loves, and for those for whom he cares the most? Is there room for those who are hurting, those who are grieving, those who are lonely, those who are hungry, or those who cannot afford a place to live or food to eat? They are God's children too. Is there room for them in our lives? On the day he died, Jesus let it be known in no uncertain terms that there was room in his life and heart for us. I hope that on this special weekend, we will make room for him. This is back here. So the last article, this week's paper wasn't really all that long. There's two things. Kind of an interesting picture here. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's an ad for seeding machinery sold by R.C. Ennis in Neepawa, and it was placed in the paper on April the 7th, 1898, the edition of the press. It's a seeding machinery, if you can imagine. This is what every farmer will require to use in a few weeks. Now is the time to secure what is needed. There are good plows and harrows of many kinds to choose from, but machines that will put seed in the ground so it will grow are scarce. The best of all is the monitor, with either the revolving disc or the shoe press drill. It can be suited to any soil. For sale in Neepawa only by R.C. Ennis. How interesting is that? Well, looking back, by Caspar Werehon. Believe it or not, it goes back 125 years ago, April 7th, 1898. And all it says is, Dothan is seeking incorporation as a village. 100 years ago, April the 3rd, 1923. Neepawa is not a boom town, never was, but town property has been valued too high and is now approximating real values. For instance, a central business site that changed ownership about 18 years ago at $2,800 was bought 7 years ago for $1,000, and last week was taken from the bargain counter at $500. That lot never was worth $2,800, nor is it worth $500 today as speculation, but it was worth $1,000 7 years ago when it was wanted for building purposes, and it is worth that amount today for the same purpose. 2 business changes were consummated in Neepawa last week. The Crow Lumber Company took over the Dutton Wall Lumber Yard, and W.E.N. King bought E.T. Walker's stock of Brendram Henderson paints and shipped it to Birtle. Pre-war prices are now in effect at the Opera House. Children 10 cents, adults 25 cents. 75 years ago, April 1st, 1948, James Murdoch, one of the pioneer settlers in the Franklin district, died in Neepawa General Hospital March 25th after a short illness. Born in Renfrew County, Ontario, June 14, 1855. He was in his 93rd year. Mr. Murdoch received his education in the schools of his birthplace, and in June of 1880 married Jane Bruce. After 8 years of farming in Ontario, he came west with his family and settled north of Franklin, where he built a home and went on to become one of the most successful and progressive farmers in the province. Surviving are one son, R.H. Murdoch of Franklin, 2 daughters, Mrs. F. McWade of Neepawa, and Mrs. Duncan Martin of Calgary, Alberta. 50 years ago, April 5th, 1973, the Special Committee of Representatives from the rural municipalities of Langford, Lansdowne, Rosedale, and the town of Neepawa learned recently that their application for the establishment of a veterinary clinic in Neepawa had been turned down by the Provincial Veterinary Services Commission. Get this, the reason given for the refusal was that it would be a duplication of existing services in Gladstone and Minnedosa, which have recently acquired clinic buildings and veterinary staff. In Calwood, Mrs. Sarah Elizabeth Bedham, always known as Lil, celebrated her 100th birthday March the 19th at Lyons Prairie Manor in Portage la Prairie. Daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Borthistle, Mrs. Bedham was born in Dauphin, Ireland on March 18, 1873. She received her education there, coming to Manitoba in 1895. At Minnedosa, she was a school teacher in the Hazelwood district for 3 years before she married John S. Bedham, third son of pioneers, in 1899. And the very last article is from 20 years ago, Monday, April 7th, 2003. A Neepawa company that exports almost half its products to the United States hasn't felt the wrath of Americans, angered by Ottawa's decision not to join the U.S.-led coalition against Iraq. But since its main selling season is just starting, that could still change, said Prairie Forest Product Sale Manager Merv Bone. Bone said he's always had good relations with his American customers, and he expects that to continue despite political tensions between the two neighbors. Economic growth in Canada will be lower than expected because of the uncertainties of the war in Iraq, the Canadian Chambers of Commerce said last week. So that is it for this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again another time. Bye for now.